it was a pretty big debt. I mean, we were going in debt. When you're going to lose 180 grand your first year, that's not a good feeling. And it was hard. It was hard on us. It was hard on our marriage. It was.
Hey team, Jim Cripps here with the Charge Forward Podcast, coming to you from Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I have a special guest for you today. I have known Grant Burrow a long time, and it's just going to be an absolute treat for you to spend some time with him. He is the co-owner, along with his lovely wife, Susan, of Primrose School in Murfreesboro. Grant, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, if we go back in time, was it like 2008, 2009, y'all came up with the idea of opening a Primrose?
We did. It was actually probably a little bit before that. Our son was at Primrose, and we really liked it. And the lady in Franklin opened up her books and mind and told us a lot about it. And I've always enjoyed working with children, and my wife is the same. Her mom actually owned a child care in Memphis many years ago. And so we looked at it, and we went and talked to the corporate in Georgia and fell in love with it.
I love that. Now, you've come a long way since then, and it would be I would be lying if I said this was an easy road.
Yeah. Because
you guys start this process kind of right at a downturn in the economy, and then you had some plans of moving over pretty quickly to that business, and if you will kind of walk me through that. So we started with the idea, the concept, liking the product that they had,
right?
A love of coaching and children, and that's pretty deep in your family, and then you start the process. So
yeah, it was tedious and caused a lot of anxiety initially, the first year especially. So. It's not cheap, so we had to put everything up. I mean, so we put the house up, the cars up, the land up, the timber that my dad had given us, and had to invest a certain amount. We borrowed money from my mom and dad and her mom and dad, and so that puts a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Sure.
And so in doing that, my wife, social butterfly, I knew she would. The parents would love her, and I'm more of the numbers person behind the scene, but I'll talk to you if I know you and get to know you a little bit. And so we decided to do it and jump in with it. And everything they give you, they said, okay, you got to have this amount for a loan. You got to put this amount down. You got to have this amount for a loan. Mm-hmm. And I was in the wireless business, and so I didn't really want to give up that security blanket of income coming in case it took longer to develop than what they had in the statement. And they said, okay, your first year, you're going to lose about 180 grand. I'll never forget that conversation. And so I'm like, this may not be for us. I don't want to lose 180 grand, but it's built into the loan, and they step you through it. And they said, you have to have, you have the building, you hire the teachers, but you don't have the students yet. Mm-hmm. And so until you get to the students and to a break-even amount, you're going to lose money. And that usually takes about a year to sometimes a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, almost exactly to that number, that's what we lost the first year. Yeah. But again, they're with you every step of it, and they said, this is okay. You're okay. You lost process. That's built into the loan, and it is part of the process. Mm-hmm. So she thrived in it. She did fantastic, and I was still in the wireless business at that point in time. With the thought of a couple more years of building up some more finances to where I felt safe that we could go over, and it was doing well enough to get out of the wireless. Mm-hmm. That took a little longer than anticipated, and knock on wood, it's been going well ever since.
Yeah, and it's not just going well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think you guys spoke at the national conference this year.
We did. They asked one of us to come up and speak on how we're keeping teachers. There's a lot of turnover in that industry, and we had teachers in each class that was a lead teacher that was really strong, had been with us a while. We have some that have been with us, I think, 13, 14 years, which is rarity. Some that have been 10 plus years. And so they wanted to go through and find out, what do you do different than maybe somebody else, and what are some of your best habits that somebody else can learn from? And hopefully somebody got something out of the conversation that we talked about. And it's some of the simplistics of taking care of the people that are working with you and the teachers that are working with you. And some of it is just going above and beyond and giving them recognition. A pat on the back goes a long way. Giving them accolades for something that they did. Giving a small little gift card as a thank you. The small things go a long way, and they feel appreciated. And so I think that was part of the reason for our success, and hopefully longer conversation we had at the event, people got some things out of.
Well, I think, yes, I think the things you just said there absolutely carry weight, but people know whether or not you're sincere when you deliver that gift card or whatever that is. And I don't know that there's anybody that's ever worked for you or worked with you that could say Grant Burrow doesn't care about me.
I hope so. I mean, I truly, the people that I work with, I've had a lot of right hands throughout wireless, and most of them were female and doing some different things. And so working with a man and working with a woman are two different things of motivating and what matters to some of the different ones. And showing that you care matters for both. I mean, no matter who they are, if you show them that you care and that you want to do well, and you want them to do well, you want them to succeed, and you want their family to do well and succeed and have fun. There's a work-life balance that a lot of companies don't get. I've been in some of those for a period of time, and if you show them that you want them to have that goes a long way.
It does. And then at the same time, one of the things that I've always valued about you is you not only try to get to know the employee, but you also remember their family.
Yeah.
And you whether it's just, I think just through my experience with you, like you always ask about how Castle's doing. And then you lit up when you found out he was playing basketball again. And then not only you, but like you kind of unrequested, you went to your son and said, Blaine, which of the camps did you enjoy the most? And then you sent me back a message and said, hey, Blaine says Castle's not going to want to miss this camp. He loved Nike camp. He loves Stars. He's still involved with Stars, and that matters.
Yeah. I think it's the little things that you do that mean a lot to people. And you may not realize they mean a lot to certain people, but doing that small little extra goes a long way.
Yeah.
And caring for their family and showing, getting, as you said, getting to know, walking into a classroom. I try to go in every classroom every day just to say hello. Do you need anything? What can I do for you? At Primrose? And so every teacher sees my face every day, and I get to talk to them a small amount and see how their day's going.
And how many teachers do you have there at Primrose Murfreesboro?
38 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so, somebody out there right now is considering a Primrose, considering a school of some sort. And what are the main things that drew you to Primrose?
Great question. So when we first had children, Susan and I first had children, I had Susan go out and I said, find 3 child cares that you like and narrow it down, and then I'd like to go visit those 3 because she wanted to go visit
all of them.
Mm-hmm. And I said, just pick 3 and we'll pick one from there. And so she did, and she came back with the 3, and I wanted to know how much they cost. Mm-hmm. And Primrose was the most expensive.
Sure.
And she goes, this is the one. And I said, you like it just because it's the most expensive and you think it's going to be the best. And we went out to the 3 child cares. We visited all 3, and I was blown away with Primrose. I mean, it was the people that were there showed care,
mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just the director or assistant director. It was, we would visit a classroom, and those teachers would go out of their way to say hello and, how are you? And, what are you looking for at childcare at a teacher's spot, and not so much the director or assistant director.
Yeah.
And so when we went in there, that stood out. Mm-hmm. And then they talked about, what do you want? What do you want out of a childcare? They're asked not just info dumping, this is what we do, but what do you want out of a childcare?
They're interviewing you too.
Yeah. Yeah. They want to see, do you fit with us, and do we fit with you? And this is how we fit with you. And so finding out what we wanted, every parent wants their child to be safe. That goes. And then most are saying, what are your academics? And Primrose stood out on both. They went through the safeties of what they do with all the children, and the academics they hold to a higher standard. And, they teach sign language at an early age before the child can communicate to their parent. They're saying please and thank you and more, and the basics of sign language, and then trying to teach a foreign language of Spanish on the simplicities of a lot of the different words that they'll use. So they'll start to see how valid knowing a foreign language is at an early age when they're a sponge and they can absorb all that. So it was just, they did more and they cared more.
Yeah. Well, and, I think a lot of parents go through that. We were similar in that we went and looked at several, and there were several that as soon as we walked out, Emily was in tears, and I was like, there's no way in hell that our kids go in there. There was one that, we could have picked up 5 kids and taken them out. Yeah. And
I got a story with that as well. It's scary.
It is insanely scary. And even some of the ones that our friends' kids went to, like I went into one and it was 82 degrees in the kids' room.
Yeah.
I was uncomfortable. And I can speak. I can say, I'm hot.
Yeah.
It just, so the level of care absolutely matters. And, it's your job as a parent to look out for your kids. And some people out there, may not have the resources in order to make that happen. In your instance, and in our instance, we did go with the most expensive option of the ones that we felt comfortable with. Same for you guys. And you didn't make that decision lightly. You looked at it selfishly as a parent to say, this gives my kid the best possible chance of a good outcome.
That's right. And that's what Primrose does. I truly believe that. And, my wife got into it in 2010. We opened it up, and she got the ball and ran with it, got it successful and everything. And I was supposed to come over a few years later, and as I said, that took a little longer, and we got into wireless, and that took off. But when I got over there, it's different. You see the value of what you're really paying for, and it's worth it.
Well, and having worked with you at a company, and then obviously I don't work with you in this industry, but at the same time we still talk, and we still use some video communication, and you just look happier.
Yeah, without a doubt. When we were in the wireless industry, we did well. We did a good job. We had fun with it. It changed a lot over the years, but we did well, and the tension grew year by year by year. And as we got bigger and bigger and bigger, I think we ended up 58 stores in different states, all scattered around, and 200 plus employees. The bigger you get, the more you have on your shoulders. Yeah. And so doing this, just seeing children and molding children, having them learn the things they want to learn, and we test them quarterly to see where they are once they're a little older, and if they're not there, then working to get them there and seeing them advance in so many ways. And then I get to be a big kid. I get to be outside and teach them, how to swing a whip. You can't do anything crazy with a bat or anything, but we'll have the wiffle ball or football or basketball, and we teach them all the sports, which a lot of the dads like, because in a lot of the child cares, there's not men. And so me being there and getting on the playground and working with them on that, it's fantastic. And it puts a smile on my face every day.
Well, and these days it's a family affair.
Yeah.
And then now your son has joined the ranks.
Yes. He graduated from Chattanooga, and he had said, I want to get into Primrose. I want to do this, because he always wanted to either coach or work with children in some aspect. And right or wrong, I didn't want him to do that initially. I wanted him to learn some of the business aspects that were out there other than jumping into Primrose. And so we had talked about it, and I said, I want you to do something else, learn something else, be trained by somebody else, and see, do you like that, and do you still have that urge to get with Primrose? And so we all went on family vacation, and he had been talking to Regions and was going to do some investment banking with Regions when he got back. They had good conversations. It looked like that was going to be the road taken, and we're there, and our assistant director at the point in time had recently had a child, but she'd come back to work, and when we were on vacation, my director calls me, which very rarely happens, which is not like the wireless where you still get calls and they don't know you're on vacation. They already know you're on vacation, you still get them.
Right.
And they said, I know you're on vacation, I hate to call you, but our assistant director just turned in her 2-week notice. And so Susan and I talked, and she was like, this is God telling us it's time to bring Blaine in. And so we're on vacation, and no kidding, I said, Blaine, this is what happened. I said, you want to just start with Primrose and not do anything before this? It put the biggest smile on his face. And I mean, we celebrated that night. We all had, as a family, had a great time. I mean, I've asked him periodically, don't be afraid if this isn't yours, just tell me. And he said, I absolutely love it. So it's great to see. I mean, it's fantastic to work with your son every day. We have a great bond. He and Susan have a great bond, and it's just grown that. And to see him, the children absolutely love him. Mr. Blaine, when he walks in the room, it does. It puts a smile on my face.
Yeah. Well, you've got some fantastic kids.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is absolutely crushing it there at Auburn too.
Yeah.
So.
She's got a 4.0 at Auburn, trying to get in vet school, and so she's on the right path. She studies a lot more than I did at that age, that's for sure.
I love it. Now, backing up a little bit, sports has always been one of the core things in your family. So, one of the fun stories that I like to tell, and it's sports related, it's not exactly sports, is, I came to your 50th birthday party, and I believe I was the shortest person there. Including the kids.
Yeah.
But your family's tall. You got a lot of basketball history. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your dad's jersey's hanging somewhere pretty special.
Yeah, it's at Rupp Arena in Kentucky. So he had his journey with Kentucky playing basketball, and some good stories there with Rupp and the people he played with and the team. But we've always been in sports of some sort, and that's where I got it. I was coaching travel ball with both of my son and my daughter, and Blaine did mostly basketball. He did some travel baseball earlier on, and Brooklyn got into travel basketball a little bit. She was more of the bruiser, where he was more the finesse, but it was still fun to go through all that with them. And it started with my dad, passing it on in the genes, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And your brother played college ball as well, right?
He played at Vandy for 4 years, did extremely well. He is just recently gotten into the High School Hall of Fame for basketball. So pretty cool accolade for him. And went on to play 4 good years, and he's in the 1,000-point club at Vanderbilt. So both of them did extremely well with it, yes.
Nice. Well, you weren't too shabby yourself.
Yeah,
you played college ball too, right?
Yeah, small ball. I played the small ball. But, we all dabbled in it. They a lot higher than I, but we all had fun with it and still do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love your mom, too, Miss Leanne. So, Miss Leanne, if you're watching this, I'm a big fan. Haven't seen you in a while, but we're a big fan of Miss Leanne. Yeah,
she's a big fan of ball still. She's a Kentucky fan. And when my brother and I were playing high school ball, if we weren't doing something, we would hear rebound from the. We knew it was my mom telling us to get on the boards. So she's still that way. My son plays pickup ball. She went to a game and she was yelling. I said, "My mom, this is pickup. This is you can't do that."
Yeah, that's fun though.
Yeah, she's a character.
Yeah. Well, and it's affected my world too, because, like I say, you've shared the best camps that you all experienced, and, we're in AAU ball now and all that fun stuff. So
that's cool for you and Castle. It really is. I mean, I know those are fun moments to watch him play and grow.
It is. And, just as a side note, it's, I don't know if I've told you this or not. So, he's on an AAU team, and, clearly he wants it more than anybody else on his team. And, a lot of these AAU teams at 5th grade, they've been together for a couple years already.
Yeah.
And this group has not. And so, they usually get their teeth kicked in. And about a month and a half ago, I said, buddy, here's the deal. Like, you can't get mad at your team. It is what it is. You can't make them do anything. But if you want to be the guy, then you have to decide to.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it's like somebody flipped a switch.
Light bulb.
To the point where this was a proud dad moment, where this was 2 weekends ago. So he played 37 out of 40 minutes.
Wow.
And with a minute and a half left to go, well, I guess it would have been 2 minutes to go, they pulled him out, and he was out for 58 seconds, and they put him back in. And the other coach goes, "Not this kid again." And he heard her.
Yeah, I love to hear that.
And he turned around, and he was like...
Yeah. Those are proud. All of those moments, and they'll last your lifetime. You flash back, I recently, a couple of years ago, switched. I've had an Android phone, being in the wireless business the whole life. I finally switched over to an iPhone, and they had those memories, those pictures in your phone, and I'd see some of those like you're talking about, and it just put a big smile on your face.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, we don't get through this life alone. There's all kinds of people that affect us, good or bad.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that it frustrates me is when somebody says they're self-made, because you're just not.
Yeah.
Now, you may not have had much of a hand up or those types of things, but even the bad people in life teach you something.
That's right.
And but along the way you have some great mentors too. So who's been a great mentor in your life?
There's been some. I mean, a mentor is a pretty powerful word, and everybody usually reflects on their mom or dad, and both of those were pretty good. My dad probably a little bit more just because of sports-wise, and anytime I wanted to pitch, he'd go out and work with me. Anytime I wanted to shoot, he'd go to the gym with me, and he was there, and he would offer advice. He wasn't pressing on anything. My mom more so in the fan, as I was saying, from the stands. So both of those constantly molded me when I was growing up. And I think that when you work, a lot of it, as you said, you learn a lot from yourself and doing things where you make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And, I call that tuition. You learn from it. You're better from it. It's part of education. And so, some of the people I work with, I've been blessed to work with some good people. Lucas, who mm-hmm. He and I had a great run at Wireless Direct. And then I thought I knew everything. I thought, well, we're doing great. And then we merged with Absolute with you all. And that's when I learned I'm good at a lot of this, mm-hmm. but somebody's better at some of these things, better than I on some of these things. And if you're open to take constructive criticism on that, you all were blowing it out of the water in sales. And Lucas would tell me, they're just selling this much of accessories. I said, no way, they're not doing that. And so when we merged companies, I learned from you, mm-hmm. and just saying, how do we sell, and how do we do this? And you rock and roll in the sales, I learned from, but looking at the operational part of that company, I was like, it's flooding in the front from sales, but it's going out the back door mm-hmm. quicker than crazy. So that was where I focused, and that was my big thing. But learning at that point in time from you, from Lucas, from many of people there, and then getting to Primrose, learning from my wife, and so that's why I say mentor is a powerful word, because I learned from so many people of how to do better. Mm-hmm. My daughter and I she just bought a shirt from me, do better. We always say you can do your best, always give it your all, and do better. And so a lot of those did. And then on a personal aspect, my son and my daughter have become a mentor. It's you don't really have a lot of youth that becomes a mentor, but I was telling you earlier some of the things they were doing, and I've learned from them pretty powerful, mm-hmm. and it's changed my life. So there's been a few throughout my life, not to just pick one. Well,
I think you're exactly spot on there, because you're not going to have one mentor that is just everything.
Yeah.
It's what can you glean from mentors throughout your life, and being willing to learn. And I do think that a lot of people shut down when someone is younger. Like they're hesitant to be mentored by someone younger than them, especially somebody that they parented.
Yeah.
And I just think it really speaks to your curious and humble nature that you're willing to say, well, what's over here? Maybe I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Lucas, especially. Lucas, I'm a big fan.
He's a character. I love him. Great guy.
Two of my favorite people on this planet is Lucas and Leanne.
Yeah.
My favorite time in business was when I worked with both of them. It was just, it was a joy to come to work. Even if we were behind enemy lines, it was like we were in a foxhole trying to fight. When you got those two people around you, it's just
they're willing to fight for you. I mean, Leanne, I had the pleasure of working with as well, and got to know her daughter, and she would always give me the peace sign, and so I ended up calling her Deuces, and that was my nickname with her. And I think I sent her a little animal that she liked at some point in time, just from the thank you, kind of as we said earlier. For the people that do a good job, you don't have to always give the present to them or whatever it is. You can give it to part of their family and have them enjoy as well.
Yeah, it's our world is made up of so many people, so many touch points, and it's up to us to take something from that, to give back something for those relationships, and just make the most of each moment.
That's right. That's right.
And not to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I think all of us are a bit more focused on health these days.
Yeah.
And you and Susan went through a tough patch from a health standpoint.
Yeah. It was tough. What
did you learn through that?
As I said earlier, do better. That was one of the toughest times in my life of her getting checked out, and you learn so much from what you do wrong. She had said she had a pain, and I should have said go to the doctor. Go to the doctor, and instead, kind of the man side is, it may not be anything. And then she kept saying it, and finally she went to the doctor, and lo and behold, it was cancer, and it was a rare part of cancer, carcinosarcoma or something like that. I don't remember. And I remember the doctor saying she's not had a patient that lived past 5 years. So,
knock on wood, we're past.
Yeah, and so my wife, said, "Do you believe in?" She was talking to the doctor. "Do you believe in God?" And she said, "Yeah." Well, don't ever tell your patient that, because I'm going to live through this. And she did. We're past the 5 years. She was a warrior through it all, and so much was on that. And I remember her saying, "I'm not ready. I'm not ready to see. I want to see the grandkids. I want to see all of that." And as the other side of that, you go through a small part of it, and you're like, "What do I do?" And so I struggled with, do I bring it up? Because I don't want to bring it up, because I don't want to put it in her mind, but I want to know how she's doing. But I don't want to ask her how she's doing, because everybody asks her that, and then it gets in her head, and I don't know, you go back and forth to what do you do? And I could have done, so, in hindsight, I could have done so many things better of just, she went for chemo, and not to get off on a wild tangent down this, as you said, a rabbit hole, but, I'm like, do I go? She goes, "No, you don't have to go." But now looking back, that you don't have to go means it would have been a lot better for me to go. And I didn't, and I was tied up in work, and, hindsight, you look back, and work's always going to be there, but somebody else may not. And it was one of the biggest mistakes I made, not being there. I went to some of the chemo treatments, but going there was just, whew.
Yeah.
Seeing what other people are going through. Yeah, you said it. It was a rough patch.
Yeah, but you got through it.
We did. And as we talked earlier, I think that is part of what, I don't get into her car now without Christian music being on. She dove deep into eating healthier, cutting out all these sugars, and I've got a bad sweet tooth, so I love a cookie if it's there. If it's there, a box is in danger. And so I tried to cut out some of that. I did my best with cutting out that, but she got to where even if she saw my little hidden stash, she wouldn't get into it. And as I said, it's been over 5 years. We got through it. She's gotten closer to God, and we all did in the family through all that, and better for it.
Yeah.
So,
closer for it.
Yeah. We're a real close family. I'm sure that had a big part of it, because we wanted to shelter Blaine and Brooklyn from a lot of that, and she was adamant. I don't want them to know this. I don't want them to know this, what I'm going through. And so I did, and I tried to keep it all internal. And so that's rough, but I mean, what I saw was a fraction of what my wife had to go through.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize, and I think we had a conversation about this about the same time, because, in about that same time frame, not under the same circumstances, but, I lost 85 pounds. And the diet that I was on was almost identical to the diet that they prescribed for her and going through cancer.
Yeah. And that's the way they say we should eat. I mean, the three of them eat a lot better than I, but I eat a lot better than I used to because of all that.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you got some new hardware recently.
Some hardware.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a hip replacement. Oof, I don't wish that on anybody, but it's a lot better now than it was.
Good.
I was in constant pain for a long while, and I remember playing golf before I had the surgery, and I was like, should I play? Should I not play? I'm in pain. And so I played like 5 holes, and I rode in the cart the rest of it, and I couldn't do it. And now that the surgery, so I'm back to doing some good things.
Well, and you recently played golf. You went on the golf trip, right?
Yeah, we're going on a golf trip. I think this has been 30 years, 32 years, somewhere around there, that a bunch of guys go play golf. It used to be a golf trip, and now it's kind of a golf beach trip, maybe beach golf trip. So we have the people that can really play golf that shoot low 70s, and that's nowhere near where I shoot. If I get under 100, I'm ecstatic. If I get under 110, I'm probably still happy. So, but there were 10 of us that went this year, and it was high. We've been as high as probably 18, as low as maybe 5 or 6, but we still go every year.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And then y'all do a big fantasy football league too, right?
Fantasy football, fantasy baseball, with trophies for each. A lot of the same guys that go on the golf trip are in that. We've been doing that for many, many years, and so everybody gets to talk their stuff, and if they're up and if somebody's down that used to be up, they hear about it as well.
That's right.
We have fun with it.
What would you say throughout? I'm going to give you the depth to go your entire life. What is your favorite memory? Like when you need a pick me up, what do you think about?
I was talking to my son recently about this. There's been a lot of we're again a tight family. We go on family vacations, and we went on one with my brother's family and my mom. My mom said, "Hey, I've got this nest egg. Before I go, I want to go on a big vacation." So she goes, "I'm paying for everything." And so we went to Anguilla, and my brother and I said, "Well, she's paying." And she goes, "It's all y'all's when I go anyway, so just do what you want." So we said, "We're going to have a big one." And so that would be up there. We all went to Anguilla. We stayed at this house that was amazing, had a pool, and we, my mom, my brother, and myself and our families with 2 children on each side all got to go. And the kids say, my kids say that was one of the best vacations. So that memory is up there, but the more I thought about it, this is a weird thing, but we missed church one day. My wife was gone. She's the one that always on Saturday. She goes, "Well, get up, we're going to church in the morning." Everybody said, "Yeah, we're going." And so she was gone, and the kids were sleeping. I'm like, do I wake them? Do I not wake them? And so they slept in. But Blaine and Brooklyn were both there. And so they came down, and we wouldn't have made it to church. And I said, "We didn't make it to church, so we're going to have a little Bible study, Dad." I thought about it, and I said, "What I want you all to do is find 2 passages that mean something to you. And, take your time, find whatever." And I said, I'd already had mine together. One of my favorite ones I'd had, and I don't remember the other one, but both of my kids say, "I have my 2 passages already." And so didn't have to look in the Bible, didn't have to. My daughter looked at her notes on her phone, and my son rattled off one and had another one there. And one of the 2 of theirs was exactly the same without knowing. And it was basically, I don't remember what the passage was, give everything to God. And so that's a pretty strong moment when it was for me anyway at that point in time for them to have two passages already and one of them be the same. One of my daughters was on anxiety. She has anxiety with studying. She wants to always get A's. So we all deal with something different, and that was kind of cool to see what theirs was and what they may be going through and what they believe.
Yeah. And give me a perspective of how old were they when this?
Well, this wasn't too long ago. So they were both home probably for the summer. So this was probably, Blaine was probably 20 and Brooklyn was 17. So 18. So I think it was maybe her freshman year of college. So 18.
Yeah.
Around there anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really was.
What a cool moment.
Yeah. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And I know you guys have got a lot going on, but between, Brooklyn looking to finish up and hopefully go into Auburn's veterinary school.
Yeah.
Blaine joining you guys there at Primrose. And then, you guys kind of taking a step back a little bit. What are you most excited about right now?
My wife and I, because we had talked about, before Blaine had shown interest, we talked about, okay, we're going to sell Primrose and we're going to travel. We're going to see the world. And so when Blaine said he had an interest, Susan and I talked and said, we had talked to him, hey, do you want to get into this? And he had shown a little interest, but I think he was a little reserved. As he said, I don't want to stop your plans from doing what you want to do. So sell the business if that's what you want to do. I have interest in doing something like that. And once he said he had interest and we talked and sat down and really did, we said, okay, we're going to get this to where we can still travel. And so I told I constantly tell him, the director, overhire. I know it's going to cost a little more, but overhire, because Susan and I, we want to travel some. We want to do some things. So I think that's what what I'm looking forward to, is seeing some of the world. She has some places that she wants to see, and I have some places I want to see, and we're starting that journey.
Where you want to go?
I'm a warm person, so I still haven't been to. I want to go to a lot of the Caribbean, different places. I still haven't been to Bahamas. We were supposed to go to the Bahamas, and I mean everybody goes to Bahamas but us. And she's wanting, so any place I pick is going to be a beach. It's going to be somewhere where I can sit there, read a book, have a cocktail, get on a jet ski, or go on a sailboat or something the effect of that. We just went to Los Cabos, which was very nice, and we saw, no kidding, from almost me to you, and they said this has happened once before. They're whales. We were walking the shore, and from me to you, there's this 80-foot whale that is, and Susan goes, I want to go out and try to touch it. I said, what are you waiting? No. Yeah. That tail comes around, and we saw that the whole time they were coming up to the shore. So I want that feeling. I want more of that, and the different cultures that are out there. I love Mexico. Anything that it's warm weathered. Some of the bucket list is Egypt. I want to see the pyramids. She wants to go to Alaska, but she knows I don't like cold. So, and she wants to see more of the non-beach, because she's going to see those with us. And we're looking at trying to get maybe a condo on the beach in Destin, even. So, we're gonna enjoy life.
That's good. That's good stuff. We've earned it too.
Yeah, that's what we think.
That's right. Well, kind of along the way. It's and I know you know this about me, but we're both money conscious.
Very much so.
It's always in the background, good or bad.
Yeah.
What part did that play in raising kids? Like, when did y'all start having conversations about money?
Having conversations very early. Them actually listening, probably not till more so recent. I said, don't work for the money, have the money work for you. And so it's a part of investing and making sure you're investing in the right things. And so that really hasn't hit home with my daughter. She is like my wife, not meaning that in a financial way, but she's the social butterfly. She's the flower child. She's going to talk to everybody. She's got your personality. She's going to talk to anybody, anywhere, and they leave best of friends. Where my son is, he and I are more alike, where we have our little clique and of friends, and that's who we're real strong with, and that's what we go do things with. if we don't meet this stranger over here that we're not going to become friends with anyway, it's not that big of a deal to us. I don't mean that in a wrong way, but it's just the personality. And so he has recently started to listen more. I'm always talking. I send him a TOTD probably 3 times a week, a thought of the day, and sometimes that's about the Bible, sometimes that's about sports, sometimes that's about financial. And so I sent them, kind of like I think you and I have talked about this calculator of finding out what money, what it can make if you invest a small amount.
At their age, especially.
Yeah. And so I sent that to him of if you invested just $50 a month right now, when you don't have a lot of money, but putting that in, it accumulates to this by the time you're ready to retire. And it's millions of dollars. And he came to me and said, okay, what do I need to do to open up a brokerage account? And so he just recently opened one up. And so
Roth, I hope.
He's doing a little bit of both. He opened up a Roth, and he's opened up some mutual funds just for investing that he can have and take out later and to use. Because I said, this Primrose, if it goes the way it's been going, it's not a handout. You're gonna buy it. We'll give you a reduced price, but you need to have the money to buy it. So he started doing that as well. And he's starting to really grasp it. He's got the financial mindset, and Brooklyn is not there yet. So when you say, when did they start? She hadn't really got there yet, but she knows it, but she's not ready to get there yet.
Well, I'll throw this out there because this hits home with some. In fact, a good friend of mine. In fact, they helped us at Absolute years ago. So the friend of mine that built all the safe shrouds.
Oh yeah.
So
they built a lot.
They did. They built a lot of those. He and his son, and so his son these days is he works for the power company, and still living at home, or was then, and so he's making a decent wage, and he got the itch for a new truck, and he called me and said, "Can you talk some sense into this young man?" And I said, well, it's real simple. How much do you want to spend on the truck? And he already had a nice truck. He had probably a $25,000 truck, but he wanted to go to a $45,000 or $50,000 truck.
Of course, yeah.
I said, great. You're 18 years old. So at 18 years old, and I forget the exact number, I think it's for every $6,000 that if you put that $6,000 in a good growth stock mutual fund, that's $1 million at retirement. I said, so what you're telling me is you like this truck $3 million worth. He didn't buy the truck.
Good for you.
So, but even for younger kids, and
some just don't know.
Some just don't know. And then, I always stressed on whether I did too much, because good, bad, or ugly, I took Castle with me to the bank even before he could walk. And our rule was, even before he understood it, was if we're putting money in the bank, you get a sucker. You're taking money out of the bank, no sucker. Again, I don't know if that was good or bad.
Rewards teach.
But Castle had he's had a mower for the last few years, and every year I've told him, if you do a good job with mowing, then we'll upgrade your mower. Well, these days he's probably the only kid in the United States with a commercial 52-inch mower at 11 years old.
That's awesome.
Last year he was 10, and he had a couple of regular mowing jobs. And we go to the bank for him to decide how much he's going to spend or keep to spend, how much he's going to invest, and how much he's going to put in the savings. And I think he had $200. And I said, so what are you going to do? And he goes, well, it's worth way more if I give it to the investment guy. I'm like, okay, well, how much? He goes, $200. I'm like, whoa. You got to buy gas for next week. You got, and of course he wanted to spend my money for that.
Of course.
I said, no,
that's a lot better when they can do that.
That's right. But in either case, money is a language.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to speak money.
Yeah.
Now, one difference between you and I is, at least earlier in your career, you were not nearly as debt averse as I am. It just sends me into a panic.
We've talked about that, yeah.
But it has worked out.
Yeah.
So through that, what do you think has been the wisest, I don't want to say gamble, but calculated risk that you've taken?
It would be Primrose. I mean, where we are now, because we thought about it and researched it, and it was a pretty big debt. I mean, we were going in debt when you're going to lose $180,000 your first year. that's not a good feeling. And it was hard. It was hard on us. It was hard on our marriage. It was, I mean, you get angry when you just see that money disappearing, and then you're starting to think, did we make the right decision? Did we do the right thing? Is this going to work? But no kidding, my wife, she was the superstar with it all, because I was staying in the wireless world to make sure we had the money coming in case we lost another $100,000 or whatever it may be. That was the year we lost it. That was the year Primrose told us we were going to lose it, and ever since then, it's going the right way. And we're actually right now looking at adding on to the school. So we're going to pull a little bit more debt, and we have a waiting list for infants and toddlers, and so we're going to add another infant toddler room and maybe one other room. Because
that's a calculated risk, based on where the business is currently.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So yeah, that one was the big one, and you always take, if you're getting a house, most people will take a little bit of debt, and a car, a lot of people will do it that way, but that's not one that's going to throw you for a loop like a Primrose type thing could. But we both knew our work ethic. We both knew what we wanted in life, and I always wanted to work with children at a later age, and so again, we've been fortunate. Yeah.
Well, and the great part is, like, you get to be, in my opinion, your best self in that space.
You really do.
So
it puts. I mean, you and I were in the wireless world, and we had stress, especially when mergers were happening, or you weren't hitting a metric that you wanted to hit, or somebody was telling you got to be here and you're not here, and how do I get there? And you always did well with that in reaching whatever goal was set for you. And it's not always fun. And right now, I go in and have a smile on my face every day. I really do. And you have your things you've got to work through. Things happen. You may have little Johnny that bites somebody in an infant or toddler room because they're teething, and so you've got to try to shadow a little bit more so that doesn't happen, because you don't want them biting, but you don't want the other person getting bit. So you have those type of things that you learn and grow and try to implement the things that won't happen. But it truly is the calling for where I need to be right now.
Yeah. No, I love it. And again, I can see it on your face when I get a video from you. It is not the Grant of 10 years ago. Yeah. It is an improved version.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So one of the things that we ask in almost every episode, and this is meant to be slightly controversial, but not to get anybody canceled or anything, is and I can't take credit for it. It actually came from a podcast that I was on. So a shout out to Colby and John from the GOAT Consulting Podcast. But it's called Things We Think But Do Not Say. And for most people, it's just a truth that you feel strongly about that maybe is not popular but needs to be said. And so for me, one of the ones that I hang my hat on is I get really frustrated when somebody says toxic masculinity. Nope. In my opinion, there are toxic people, whether they're male or female, does not matter. Masculinity by itself is not toxic. Feminine energy is not toxic by itself. It is what you do with it. So, and some people hate that I say it that way, but I cannot stand it when somebody says toxic masculinity, because it's just not even a thing. What's something that you think you feel that strongly about?
That's an interesting question. I think that where I am now is a little different than probably where I was, 10 years ago, as you said. And my daughter, our saying is do better. Always do your best and do better at whatever you're gonna do. And so now when I'm out and about, I'll see, because of the industry I'm in, different children acting different ways. And so I think part of that, of me seeing some of that, is like, okay, you do better. And I want to go over maybe and talk and whatever, but you never know what somebody's going through in their life. And so Do you try to help in some of those situations? Do you not? And so I'm not sure there's a saying so much of you're looking at it like, what the heck are you thinking? But at the same point in time, I don't know what's happening in their life.
Sure.
So I guess that's a roundabout way of me thinking, what are you thinking? But not knowing what they're going through in their life. And so many people have so many things happening that are unfortunately not good things in their life that are superseding what maybe is right in front of them at that point in time. And we've got to be cognizant of that in our lives to not interject where we shouldn't. And so when you're thinking, what the heck, something else may be going on in their world.
Well, I think, maybe a summary for that is everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
But you as a parent have a responsibility to that child.
Valid.
I love one of the responses that we got a few episodes ago. Giannis Lasmanis, who owns Corsair there in Brentwood, he said we should judge more. That petting people by not telling the truth is not helping them.
100% believe that.
And I think in that same space is, and I know you remember me saying this and probably have PTSD from it, but performance matters.
Yeah.
But we keep score for a reason in sports, and there should be more keeping score.
Yeah, and less participation trophies.
That's right.
I understand it, but that's not how the world is.
That's right. Well, we're setting them up for failure if we paint sunshine and rainbows everywhere, even with a bad job.
Yeah.
We are not getting them ready for the world.
I remember many years ago, I was coaching my son in basketball. He was very young, I think 4 or 5, and they lower the goals, so they can hit it. And it was the YMCA, and it was the first time I did it. And my dad, he always wanted to come see our kids play. He's there, and we're coaching, and we have gone through some practices, and I'm thinking, wow, these kids have a lot of learning to do for basketball. And I thought, well, everybody's kids are probably going to be this that we're playing against. So we get out there our first game, and my dad's over there watching, and we're doing layups type thing. We're trying to get them going, and nobody's hitting anything. And so I said, all right, we're going to have to focus on defense because we can't make a shot. And we get out there, and we're focusing on, okay, defense, and up on the man and trying to get a steal, so maybe we can get a layup that way. I turn around, I have 2 kids rolling. I don't know where I was going with 2 kids rolling on the floor, and the other team scoring left and right on us. And my dad's at halftime. He goes, "You're gonna have to work with the Bad News Bears a little bit here." So I don't know where I was heading with that, but it was a memory that popped up for some reason. But
no, and I've experienced that myself. We did Upward, a couple years ago, and I had no anticipation that I was going to get tapped for coaching, and apparently when we got there, they had added a team. And so Castle was on this added team, and then they didn't have a coach. And so somebody volunteered to coach, but there was no assistant coach. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And 2 of the kids, ADHD, whatever it was that literally they're over there playing with dust bunnies in the corner. And then I had 2 kids that had never played a sport. They were homeschooled, and they didn't know how to jump or run. Like physically, they had never jumped before. They had never run before.
That's a challenge.
It was a challenge, but I will tell you, by the end of the season, the 2 kids that didn't know how to jump and didn't know how to run made more improvement than anybody else on the team. Like they were just starved for physical activity.
Isn't that a great feeling, though, as a coach?
It was. And there were days that I wanted to quit. The 2 that were chasing dust bunnies, they would actively participate in the destruction of what was going on the court. But it was all worthwhile in that I saw one kid really start to get a handle on his emotions because he was like an explosion waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And I told his dad one day, I said, but think about it. You got kids that don't want to be here and could care less. He wants to be here.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know how to deal with it yet. And I said, think of a rocket. That same explosion could tear things up, or if it's funneled in the right direction to give something a direction and velocity, it goes to the moon. And you started seeing that change. So
that's awesome.
I love the coaching aspect, and I know you do too.
Yeah. I mean, Blaine and Brooklyn, I've coached them in different sports all throughout them growing up, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I remember, coaching my daughter, and I'm sitting she's in the game, and I have one of the moms come tell me, she goes, "You and my daughter were having a blast sitting on the bench. So what were y'all talking about?" And we would just talk about random stuff in the stands. We would see some things going on. It's just fun. It's just it's making sure that children are having fun in the game and learning the game. I mean, so they have to learn the game. They have to get better, as you said. I hated losing, so that was a little tougher. I still don't like losing. But you want to put the competitiveness in them, but you don't want it to be a detriment of on any aspect. So.
Yeah, you don't want them to not be able to handle the rest of life because they lost a basketball this morning. But when they're in the moment, you want them to want it more than they want anything else.
That's right.
And that's a tough place to be. Castle had the experience of he's been on a great team the last couple of years, and so there were other great players. And don't get me wrong, he had some really good games, but he didn't have to be the player.
Right.
This team that he's on now, it's also a great experience for him to understand that he has to become it if he wants to.
Yeah. Step up.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, he's being mentored by the situation that he's in.
And you have that in life. I mean, different aspects of life. You have your team. Are you the superstar or participant? What are you to make the team the best?
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of random, and we didn't tee this up. What's your favorite Lucas story?
Well, can I tell? There's some I can tell, some I can't tell. Lucas is hopefully most of the people that are watching this are a little older. So we had stores in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And so we went to Memphis, and then right around the corner there's a casino. Mm-hmm. I think this is where this was. This may have been, I'm pretty sure it's where it was. And
because y'all used to stay at the casino.
You're right. And so I told him, I said, it's $69 to stay at a casino that I would normally pay, so I'm going to give you $69 or whatever it is to gamble with, and you and I play a little blackjack, and we sit at $5 table, whatever the case may be. Well, Lucas is as you well know, he's a cut up, and he doesn't use the intelligence God gave him a lot of times. So we're sitting there, and again, we've had some cocktails, and if you don't play the right way, some of the players at the table will get on you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, Lucas had a few more cocktails than I, and he had like 2 kings.
Mm-hmm. Split kings? He
split kings. And then he got another king, and he split kings. I think he did it 4 times. And the table's now just what are you doing? What are you doing? And I said, you dumbass, whatever it is. And he said, it's Dumas. It's French for So the rest of the night, the dealers were calling him Dumas, and we had, I don't mean to have a cuss word on it, but that was, we still to this day call him Dumas.
I love it.
And so, and it fits him. He would do anything for you to this day. He's a great friend. Mm-hmm. He was a great right hand in my business at Wireless Direct. You had the opportunity to work with him. He's going to give you all he's got. Just a great human being. Absolutely. And his mom came over and worked with me, and the same. She's a great human being. But getting to know him, there's many of those type of stories that I've had the pleasure of having. He goes on our golf trip, and so that's joined in on some of he's the youth of our golf trip. Most people are in their 50s. I'm in the late 50s. Most of them are 55 or older. Mm-hmm. Well, Lucas is in mid-40s, I guess, is something like that. So the good thing about it, if something is left at the house, we're like, Luke, we really like to play ladder ball, but it's up at the house. I got it. I'm going. I'm getting it. If you're playing, I'm going. So we have those type of stories as well.
Oh yeah. Well, mine is a bit more tragic than that one. So, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. So we have a big sales day, the biggest one we'd ever had after we merged together. Yeah. And he's headed to a neighbor's house to put up the trash cans. Now this is 11:30 at night. And I get a phone call about maybe 10 minutes after 12. And it's him going, you know, those just stupid things. And I'm like, what? And I had just laid down. And he goes, you know, those stupid things that only I would do. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, well, I'm on this scooter.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Headed to my neighbor's house. And I think, well, I can go faster than that. And I hit a rock. And then, because of my military training, I knew how to fall so that I didn't kill myself. But I think I broke my arm. I might have broke my shoulder. And I'm iffy on my leg. I'm like, what are you doing right now? He's like, I'm dragging this scooter back to the house. So we're supposed to go razor riding that weekend. And so I told him, I said, man, I will meet you at the hospital. I called his mom and said, Miss Donna, needs you to get up. Needs to go get Lucas. He's walking back to the house right now. And sure enough, I meet him at Vanderbilt. Help Lucas get in. No, Miss Donna helped him in. I took her car, went and parked it. And I get in there, and luckily it's a Marine is the nurse that helped bring him in. And they're trying to get x-rays and this and that. And I mean, he's in a neck brace. I mean, he looks like a train wreck. And he goes, you don't understand. I have to be able to go on this razor trip on Friday. And about that time, they come back with the x-rays, and he puts it up there. And, of course, he's got a broken collarbone. He's broken his right arm and something else. And
I think it was his left arm as well was messed up. Yeah. He had both of them or something.
Oh, it was the collarbone on the side. He broke the bone on the other side and the collarbone on the other. So
yeah.
Anyway, and this former Marine goes, buddy, I'm gonna tell you right now, you are not going razor riding.
No way.
But I think if they'd cleared him, he would have. Yeah. But just an absolute joy to be around, and you too. I mean, it was one of the most fantastic parts of the business.
I appreciate that. It was good to get to know you when we did that in a deeper, I always knew that the competition over there, Jim's doing this, and I'm like, yeah, well, we got to figure out how you're doing it. I said, Lucas, you need to infiltrate over there, figure out what's going on.
Well, I remember the day he called me. So he called me, this was, I think it was October 4th of 2015. And I was pulling into the Lenore City store, and he said, "Hey, man," and he told me who it was, and I was like, "Oh, yeah. We've seen each other." Of course, I knew he was on the reports, and it was that healthy competition back and forth. And he said, "Man," I'm trying to figure out how to sell some more accessories. What's your best trick?" And I said, "Well, just include them. It's a bundle deal." He goes, "Yeah, but I mean, how much is that going to matter?" And I told him what our goal was. And he goes, "Man, you don't have to lie to me."
Yeah.
And I said, "Lucas, I don't know what to tell you. That's the goal." And so anyway, we hung up, and I did my store visit, and I was on my way home. I was not quite to Lebanon yet. And so this is probably an hour and a half later. And he calls and he goes, "Man, I don't know if we started off on the wrong foot, but I've always, admired what you got going on over there." And I said, "Same thing." And he goes, "But I want you to tell me the truth." And I told him the exact same thing. And he goes, "I just don't believe it." And I said, "Well, come visit. We'll show you, But it was that kind of, I'm really glad that we got to work together and we got to experience some life together. It's just a joy to be around you guys.
I appreciate it. We had, that's where I got to know you, and not only got to know you, but got to learn, as I was saying earlier, a lot of the sales tactics that you all did. And, and the marketing that was done, and that to this day, we do a lot of off Primrose marketing and still use, Josh does a lot of that for us. Fantastic guy, helps us out on many different things. And I wouldn't have had that growth if we hadn't emerged and wouldn't have met you all. So.
Well, we have to be open to new ideas.
Yeah.
And then maybe we do them, maybe we don't. Maybe we say, okay, well, how could that incorporate into my world? Not everything's a good idea.
Right.
And some good ideas are just not right for us.
Right.
It's just part of that. But along those same lines, there's a lot that has gone on so far in your life and a lot to look forward to. Somebody out there right now is struggling to try to figure out how to balance their family, their faith, their finances, the job that they're in, making those types of decisions just on a daily basis. That's maybe a little bit younger than us and trying to figure that out. What do you think has been a key to how you've managed to put it all together and then be in the place where you're at now?
Many of failures. I mean, you go through learning from what you do wrong and not taking that as a true failure, but taking it as a learning experience. I think you have to have that mentality if you're going to grow. And, we all are going to fail at something in our life. And as I said earlier, that's tuition. You learn from it.
Say that again.
That's tuition. You learn from it. So that's always been the mindset. If you can learn from it, then you're going to get better. And I am a hard believer in work hard, and a lot of the success will come from hard work. And that I've tried to install into my children and everything that they do. All you can do is do your best, but always do your best. And so I think the hard work and doing your best takes care of a lot of the success, and a lot of what they may say is luck. It's from hard work and learning from what you're doing. The faith, I think that I took, everybody has their different in faith. I took my growth really, as I said earlier, my children have helped me grow in my faith and what I do, because every day they read the Bible in the morning. We were at a trip, my daughter and I were in Destin waiting for my wife to come. And first thing in the morning, I'm happy as a clam. I'm going out. I'm on the deck, and I see dolphins. So I'm like, "Wow, Brooklyn, look at these dolphins! Look at it!" And she's over there. She's got her notepad. She's got her Bible. She goes, "I'm trying to read the Bible," and I'm like, "Okay." So, but seeing everybody's different. That was her time. You don't bother me in my time.
But in a way, you're experiencing the Bible in that moment too.
Oh, definitely. And I'm seeing. Maybe I should be doing this. Maybe so. Most mornings, I will try to. I have a study guide on the New Testament, and so I just started. 4 or 5 months ago. Started it with the beginning, and it'll have you questions. What do you think about this? What they mean by this passage? What Jesus mean by this passage? So I try to read a small amount, and so I don't take a big bite, and that's really helped me. Not only in trying to keep the faith and doing the right things and guiding how I may do certain things in my day, but it is brought me closer with my son and my daughter. My wife is still, she is more into listening, and so she listens to her car. So not that we are where the elite are with the faith, because I have a lot of learning to do, but I try to take a small bite every day of that, and
consistency.
Yeah, I think that. So I will do that at the table in the morning, and then I'll try to do a small bit of exercising, and then try to see current events, what's happening in the day, and then I'll get my day started. So I think of getting in some type of routine that works for you, because different people's routines don't work for everybody. So you got to find what works and believe in it, and always do your best in whatever you're doing.
Yeah. No, I love that. All right, this is where we have a little bit of fun. And so let's just say hypothetically that you were putting on a charity bowling event.
I don't bowl well.
It's all right. You're going to have 4 team members that are going to bowl in this event with you. They can be anyone who has ever lived throughout history, whether you know them or not. But the whole point of this is to raise as much money for charity and for you to enjoy the people that are there with you.
Wow.
Who is there with you?
So I get 4 other people. Initially, I was going to say family, but they're not going to raise the money that I need to raise with this. So don't get upset, family, if you're watching. Wow. One of the people that that first came to mind, for whatever reason, sports related, was Magic Johnson. He is who I tried to emulate my game when I was young, and I had the Magic Johnson, the Ice Curve, all these Dr. J, all those posters up in your wall as a youth.
Yeah.
And I think he has gone through, not the best speaker in the world, but he's gone through so much in his life. He got he played ball and got up to the Olympics, and then he had this disease which put him in a step back. But now he's part owner in the Dodgers, and he is one of those that everybody loves and everybody wants to talk to. He's always got a smile on his face. So he would probably, right or wrong, just because a lot of names aren't coming to mind, would be one of those. I would probably have an actor of some sort. I don't know who that would be, but everybody watches TV and everybody's going to want to raise money from an individual. So that is an off-the-wall question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for.
Well, keep in mind, it needs to be somebody that you want to hang out with. Because I did have somebody, before I put that rule in place, I had somebody say Trump, Kamala, Putin, and I think it was Pablo Escobar. And I was like, you really want to hang out with them? And they were like, well, no, but everybody else would watch.
Yeah, putting those together would be an interesting ordeal. So let me spin this. I'll do my spin selling from that book. Who would be your four? I'm guessing you asked this question while I think of maybe some others.
Oh, mine's pretty easy. Joe Rogan. I like just
that one. I watch him a lot on his stuff.
Yeah, well, he's just very inquisitive and doesn't mind asking the questions.
Yeah.
And then Robert Downey Jr. is absolutely on that team. Morgan Freeman, just because, I
like that one. Yeah.
How do you go wrong with Morgan Freeman? And then Peyton Manning.
Ooh, I like that one too. I saw him on Motivational. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
I might steal that one from you.
That's totally fine. And then I add a hype man instead of a commentator, and my hype man is Kid Rock because, we're in Nashville, and he's going to hype up the event. So
I think, and spinning back, and this one may not bring the money, it would for the Kentucky people, but I've grown to really read a lot about this guy, Mark Pope. I don't know. He is the coach for Kentucky basketball now. And he was in med school, finished, I believe, I may have this wrong, 2 years of med school at Columbia. So a fairly well-known med school university. And he left that to coach. And so Kentucky was looking for a coach, and they lost out on this, lost out on that, and they were hiring Mark Pope. And I'm thinking to myself, is this the best? I'm a big Kentucky fan, so
I know.
Is this the best we can do? And then watching him not only put in doing everything he could do to get the best team on the floor, but saying that we want to put banners in the rafter and having the love for the game, but also the players. Some of the players were saying, most fun I've ever had playing basketball, and playing under him I'd love to do for another year or two, even though I didn't have it. So his character,
he believes what he's saying.
He does. And he played at Kentucky, so that would probably be one just to kind of hear his story. I think another one would probably be Nate Bargatze. I don't know if you know who he is. We are taking a bunch of teachers to listen to him be a comedian at Bridgestone in December.
Yeah.
So we bought a bunch of them. I love comedians. He's probably my favorite one, and he's fairly well known. So I think that he would be one to hear his story, because I think he is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And he's clean. He doesn't have to use, anything. All his stories are relatable with his children, his wife, and, situations that he goes through. So
I think he's one of those that, you could envision him going on your golf trip.
Yeah, he is just hilarious. I love him. You get those little clippets on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and every time I see his, I just got to listen to it.
Yeah.
And it puts a smile on my face.
Absolutely.
So, and I'd steal Peyton from you probably. So.
Yeah, that's good. Who's going to commentate?
Wow. I would probably put and this is, you said past or present.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I loved what he did with Muhammad Ali, it would probably be Howard Cosell.
So Cosell's probably the most popular answer.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because what he brought to the table was just legendary, especially in the moment.
Yeah.
You know,
he would give it back to you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or Dickie V, maybe one of those two.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. You can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah,
100%. Last question.
All right.
Have you put any thought into how you want to be remembered?
You know, I hope that my actions reflect how I'm remembered. And yes, to answer the question, and then get on a wild tangent answer for you. But I think that's why I got into coaching, to hopefully mentor some of the youth that's out there and let them know that hard work doesn't have to be just grinding. It can be fun, and putting the spin on it to make it fun. You know, we would pray before every game. And so letting them know that although I'm nowhere near, again, as I said, where I need to be, that needs to be a part of everybody's life, and putting them into sports. You know, I think you've probably seen this through Stars. You said that you were Stars. They do that as well. Of not only praying for, okay, let's win this game, we got to pray, you know, so something like that, but we would ask, what do you want to pray for? And hearing what the youth want to pray for is a trip.
Yeah.
You know, I want to pray for my grandma. I want to pray for, I get my game, you know, whatever that it is. But remembered as a good father. I try to pride myself in being a good father. You can always be better. I can be a better husband, I'm sure, for many of things. And that's going back to the do better.
Yeah.
That my daughter and I always tell each other, do better. Always giving it your all and caring for those around you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think there's probably a bunch of different things that come into it that you could use as adjectives to describe how it was, but hopefully they're all positive.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think of that as you kind of summed up the kind of definition of a good guy, not necessarily a nice guy. And what I mean by that is the good guy will tell you the truth, even if it's going to be painful, because he cares enough about you to not just skirt the topic. That's what I try to inspire in Castle is, you know, stand up for what's right.
That's right.
Good, bad, or ugly. Like, it won't mean that every day is your best day, but it won't let that bleed into tomorrow because you patted somebody's ego by not telling them the truth today.
Yeah. Well, and you got to do that. I mean, that's what I told my daughter. I said, don't ask me the question unless you want an honest answer. So, yeah, I think that's respected.
Yeah. And we're going to do two quick bonus ones real quick. So one of them I usually ask, and I accidentally skipped it, but it has to be asked with you. So it was not intentional, but this topic kept coming up in with guests, and so we just added it maybe in about week 10, and we've kept it ever since. And it's, how important has spouse selection been to your overall happiness and success in life?
Whew. Well, I'll say don't ask a question unless you want the answer. But we have, you know, my wife is a great woman. She's fantastic, and she's gone through hell, not only with the cancer, but, you know, as my mom will sometimes tell me, I'm not probably the easiest person to live with on some things. A lot of it is principle with me. You know, it doesn't have to be right or wrong, but it's principle of the situation. And so my wife has to deal with that with me sometimes. So she and I, you know, they say opposites attract. We're opposite in a lot of ways, but we have those commonalities that we love. We both love to travel, love the beach. The beach is her happy place. And I think, you know, we've gone through our roller coasters, as some marriages do. You know, you've had your ups and your downs, and that's part of the learning and doing better. And it is good to have someone that will love you through all the faults that you have. And she does that. She will let me know my faults sometimes that I don't agree with sometimes. And, you know, I'll my competitive sometimes is, okay, well, if this is mine, then this is yours. And it becomes, as I was talking about Nate Bargatze, they were arguing over and passing each other in the hallway going, doing the head nod when they're not talking to each other for 24 hours. So I think a lot of marriages go through that and grow through that. It's an unfortunate growth on some of the things that you have to be the bigger person, and that's hard for me on sometimes of admitting I'm wrong. And she'll tell me, you don't admit you're wrong when you're wrong. But she loves me through all the faults that I have. So finding that individual that can love you and put up with you when you're doing things that you probably shouldn't be doing, on a basis of whatever it may be, is key.
Yeah, absolutely. Last one, we'll end on a very fun note, and you get off the hook on this one.
All right.
It can't be one of your kids' games.
Okay.
What was your favorite sporting event to watch? The favorite game.
Favorite sporting event to watch. There was any of the. I'm again a big Kentucky fan, so those are probably going to be in there. Dad playing there and growing up there and everything. The one that stands out was Kentucky playing LSU down 32 points, and second half being down 32 points with maybe 15 minutes to go, not giving up, giving it still. You're down 32 points. People are like, I don't want to finish this game. I don't want to play defense. I don't want to do anything. And it's just a key attribute of never giving up, of giving it your all, no matter what is facing you, and down 32 and coming back and winning.
Yeah.
And it just the game itself was obviously one for the ages to watch, but the meaning of that for those players of just diving in and grinding, and the other team thinking, man, we're blowing this team out. They're supposed to beat us, and I'm sure they probably let up a little bit until they didn't. But Kentucky, or whatever team it is, giving it everything they have to get that W.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Grant, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some time with us and sharing some wisdom.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Just things that have been along your path. And I'm glad that I was along your path.
Yeah, you were. It was a part of my growth. So
that's good.
Good to see you.
Both of us can say that.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, team, I hope you took some things away from this conversation with Mr. Grant Burrow, and him sharing the story of raising both Blaine and Brooklyn, as well as the time that he has spent with his lovely wife, Miss Susan. So, Miss Susan, it's good to hear about things going well in your world. Hopefully, you can take a nugget from this and make your life and your world better, or help someone who may need to hear this. Remember that we have new episodes with amazing guests that come out every Thursday. So please be sure to like and subscribe the Charge Forward podcast. Until next time, I'm Jim Cripps, coming to you from Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Take care. Team, it's Jim Cripps here with the Charge Forward podcast. I just want to tell you, I love you. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you for subscribing and sharing the Charge Forward podcast with people you know and you love, because that's what we're here for. We are here to share the amazing stories, the things that people have been through, the ways that they were able to improve their life, so that you can take little nuggets from theirs and help improve your story and be better tomorrow than you were today. I hope that this is the tool you needed at the right time, and that you find value in the amazing guests that we bring each and every week. Thanks so much, and don't forget, new episodes drop every Thursday.